Well, here in Middletown, the teachers are vaccinated, and this week, the bus drivers, custodians, and other essential staff get the shot. The Connecticut Freedom Alliance says that's all the more reason why masks don't need to be worn in schools.
The governor doesn't get to pretend to be king for a day, a week, a month, a year, just because the legislature lets them.
The Connecticut Freedom Alliance, represented by attorney Norm Pattis, has raised about $25,000 for more than 200 people to fund the legal challenge to Governor Lamont's school mask mandate.
Let's not pretend that we can live forever by giving all the power to the state to keep us safe against every conceivable contingency. I'm not buying. I didn't sign on.
Since the inception of the COVID crisis, Governor Lamont has signed 91 executive orders, and his executive authority has been extended several times, now set to expire on April 20th.
I would be inclined to probably ask the legislature sometime as we approach April 20th, let's keep the mask mandate in the classrooms going a little bit longer. What do you say?
Middletown Schools Superintendent Michael Connor credits masks, social distancing, and hand washing for Connecticut's success in keeping schools open for in-person learning.
More importantly, we're getting kids back into school, right? And it's because of the mask mandates. It's because of adhering to these specific protocols and policies that are in place. And when our students matriculate back in and coupling the vaccination process.
I think there are a lot more parents nervous about the fact that there might be COVID in the classroom than there are parents who say, I hate the mask, you can't make me wear the masks.
The governor also points to the fact that despite rampant community spread, viral spread within the schools was less.
I think the mask is one of the reasons.
Without any medical expertise, the Connecticut Freedom Alliance contends masks exacerbate disease and can lower a child's oxygen intake. The American Academy of Pediatrics says not true. They've endorsed masks as not only a safe and effective infection control measure for kids 2 years and older, but specifically say, quote, plans for the safe return of children to school must include the universal use of face masks.
So far, I think people feel generally we're headed in the right direction.
I think the mask mandate is necessary.
We think the mask mandate is overbroad. Whatever sense it may make for adults, it makes less sense for children.
Now, the judge stopped short of striking down the mask mandate. The Connecticut Freedom Alliance says they'll take their appeal all the way to the state Supreme Court. Governor Lamont says if there's any legislators who don't like his executive orders, they can pass a bill. He did not say how long he thinks it would be before students have to stop wearing masks. Reporting in Middletown, Matt Caron, Fox 61 News.